Alright, guys. What do you think? Tell me what you think about this. Now, I know everybody's probably sick and tired about hearing about the economy. Like, we all know from firsthand experience that we all need more money, right? Most of us do. Most of us are in a category where we're like, I need more money. Not, oh, I want more money, because that's convenient and it would be nice to have more money for my own enjoyment. It's more like I need to drive my car and to get from place to place, even if I don't drive, but expenses have gone up. I need to pay for, medicine that I can't, that isn't covered by my insurance, or supplements and things like that for my health. I need to pay for healthy groceries. They cost more than the crap groceries. It would be nice to go out and have some fun, but all the tickets for pretty much everything cost 2 or 3 times more than they used to cost in previous years. Not to count that you have to pay for parking and pay for food once you get there. I mean, you could go cheap, try to park residential, walk to the event, pack your pockets full of granola bars and whatnot and do it that way. But if it's healthy, and it'll get you through with some Cliff Bars, okay, a lot of people during the holidays have a lot of pressure. I feel lucky that I don't have that pressure, because my family is pretty big on opting out of a lot of the societal pressures, especially when it comes to the financial end of things. Like, we do giftless Christmases and things like that. Like, it's perfectly fine. It's not to say that it doesn't cost in travel, buying foods and things like that. We just had Thanksgiving, and, a lot of people probably spent extra money on food, more like a feast type of meal versus like basic groceries. And yeah, you can eat the leftovers. But if you were the one entertaining or something like that, maybe you gave away the leftovers. Maybe people took plates home. Maybe the food was mostly the cost was all on you. The end of the year comes with a lot of pressure. So, with all the things going on, like, how much do you give into the pressure? How open are you to alternative methods of dealing with things? I'm not saying, like, when things get hard, quit. That's not what I'm saying. But there is something to, being flexible when things are just super inconvenient, but also not necessary. Christmas gifts, especially if they're not like children, minors who don't have jobs and don't make money, Christmas gifts are usually not necessary. Most people throughout the year buy things for themselves that they want, right? If I want something, I'm not going to wait till Christmas to see if somebody gets it for me. Usually I'm going to buy what I want. And the things that I haven't purchased are either because I find them to be too pricey, or it's not really a necessity. I'm kind of out of the habit of buying certain types of stuff, even if I want it. People who know me well, that probably my big expenses are, if I go snowboarding, if I'm visiting friends out of town, either Vegas or San Diego or other parts of LA, and if I have to get a hotel to go do that, or even a flight or whatever, a train, whatever that may be, or concert tickets, concerts, raves, things like that. Those are my biggest expenses. And now none of that's a necessity. I mean, visiting friends, I feel that's a necessity, at least, especially because it's not such a huge distance. Like driving 6 hours to Vegas, or like 2 or 3 hours to San Diego, that's doable. It's not excessive, but the part about, staying the day if I'm staying overnight, like if I don't drive myself to San Diego, then it's likely that I'm gonna have to stay overnight. But if it's Vegas, then I just, I'm gonna have to stay overnight at least. I can't do that same day. I mean, I could, but it's like basically I'd go there and have dinner and then come back, so it's kind of like a waste. But when it comes to other stuff, I mean, those to me are the things I like to pay for. I pay for other stuff, supplements and things like to go to the gym, CBD products, things like that, melatonin, things that I feel like help me, keep things pretty balanced. But are they a necessity? No. Do they boost maybe my sleep improvement or like energy for the gym? Yeah. So they kind of help keep things on track, to reach goals. Like, so I'm sleeping on time more nights than not, hopefully, and I'm, working out when I want to work out. I feel like it helps me. Is it a necessity though? No. I could go to the gym tired, fatigued, not get a good pump, not get a good workout in, and still just go through the motions and still get a workout. I could, deal with the insomnia and stay up and, not sleep properly. Eventually my body will knock out and go to bed. Like, eventually that's going to happen. It's not a necessity, but, I could do without it if I had to. But, that's kind of taking it a little bit far. Like, those are some things that I probably wouldn't want to do without. And they're not daily expenses, At most, they're monthly expenses, probably something I buy like every other month. And it lasts. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this stuff going on with the economy, with the banks, with gold, with silver, with crypto, with blockchain in general, with the banks, the bailouts of the banks, the housing market. I re-listened to this episode by Peter Schiff. And it's an old episode. It's on YouTube, and he's talking about, he represents the 1%, and he's out at a protest, this Occupy Wall Street protest. This is from years ago, talking about how he predicted the crash in 2008. So this was after 2008. And he's talking about how he predicted the crash and nobody wanted to listen, And it sounds like the same thing happened again. He was predicting, at that point, he was predicting another crash, that there's going to be another crash, the banks are going to get bailed out again, the economy is going to go under. I don't know, like, the exact sequence of events, but we're experiencing it now. Like, nobody can doubt, it's kind of like, we're kind of at a point now where, we're dangling from a cliff with a rope that's kind of getting worn more and more as we're trying to climb up, and you can hear it breaking and hear the rocks kind of crumbling, but you're still making an effort to climb up to the cliff to see how far you can get before everything breaks, before the rocks and the rope break, and like, okay, am I going to make it to the top before that, or is it going to break and I'm just going to fall down? And if I fall down, will I be in a worse spot than I was when I first fell before they threw down the rope? Or, that's kind of what it feels like right now, for a lot of people. And it's not pretty, it's not fun, it's not, it's easy to ignore. Most of us want to ignore it. I want to ignore it. You guys probably notice, I don't post on here every day. I would love to post a lot, but I try to be pretty careful I really do try to be pretty careful about what I post because I don't want it to become just like negative ranting and raving about like, oh, everything sucks. And like if you want to hear that, you can go anywhere else. There's so many other, places to consume content. I want to ask questions on here. I want to think. I don't have all the answers, but I don't think I have any answers, and I'm not even able to really adequately speak about, the finance world. But from what I understand, this seems to be, at the least a very big issue that the government has this. I mean, when politics come in, you hear this a lot, people mislabeling things, defining things. You hear it in religion a lot too. People say, oh, I'm doing this out of love. And when you think about it, it's like, is this really love? Are you really being, yelling in my face with your spit, pieces coming out on me and creating some humiliating situation where you're just yelling at me because I accidentally did something, and you're having a bad day, and you're like, oh, I'm doing this out of love. I'm rebuking you out of the love of God. It's like, really? If a parent says that to their kid or something, it's like, I'm doing this out of love. Like, is it love or is it abuse? Sometimes it's like people want to call something one thing and then it's really something else, So that's one thing I think in at least U.S. society, we really have to look out for that, because people will call things one thing and it's actually something else, And then we have these phrases that, people throw around, and then people catch on to them, and then they start calling everything that. Like toxic is a good one. Is something really toxic, or is it just something I don't like? Something can be toxic, but it's like, if it's not a consistent behavioral issue, if it's like a one-time thing, yeah, it might be a toxic thing to have done, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is fully toxic, like, all the time. Like, they might have just done one thing, and it kind of depends on what they do. Like, if they're, like, killing somebody or whatever, versus, like, they just made a mistake, and the one time they drank too many beers, they got up on the table and started kicking the food off the table in the middle of the bar, it's like, that's weird, but it's forgivable if it's like the one time it's ever going to happen. If they keep doing it, then it's like, that's a behavioral issue. But we see this a lot in politics too, where it's like, I don't know why people don't have their eyes open. It's like, I don't pay attention so closely, and I see the lies. It's like, okay, our government lies to us. Let's just get that straight right away. For example, student loan forgiveness. That wasn't a conversation too long ago, right? What happened to it? Did everybody get their loans forgiven? No. They did some weird bait and switch thing where it's like, oh, we didn't really mean that, and we're not really forgiving your loans, but it kind of got kind of forgiven, but you still kind of owe the money, but we kind of, improved your credit a little bit with whatever we finagled in there. Like, they did something to the numbers, but you still owe the money. It wasn't forgiven. $10,000, whatever, thousand, it wasn't forgiven. They did something, but it wasn't forgiven, right? You still owe the money, right? They just manipulated the money somehow and did something to it, but you still owe it. They didn't take it away. They didn't say, I'm deducting all of this, or I'm giving you that $10,000. They didn't say that. They didn't do that. And maybe if it did happen, it was for a select few people. I know a lot of people who went to school, grad school, and I don't think anybody got their loans forgiven, fully. And it's a pretty large sample size, I would say. For the average person, most people I know went to college, went to grad school. So, there's that, for example. And with these bank bailouts, everything that's attached to this housing market, this is the third time in my life this is happening. And I'm like, okay, this is happening again. Okay, here we go again. This is the second time in my professional career this is happening. And, people are like, this might be the big one kind of thing. The value of the US dollar is not looking mighty good. But what do you do about it? Like, are there even any answers? Peter Schiff tried to open a bank. It sounds like he got overtaken over lies by the government, who shut down his bank. He was trying to have a bank where people could kind of like, I guess trade in like silver and gold or something. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but he was trying to have a bank where people could like store like silver and gold. And now people are talking about, okay, why don't you try like a blockchain option of that? And I think he might, but you can just see they want full control. They lie and say, oh, you did this, therefore we're going to do this. Even these big people high up, the 1%ers, can't bend the rules to their favor. I mean, the government has full control over all this stuff. And he had the argument in that one episode or video that I'm going to post. I'll post it below. And he was talking about capitalism, the definition of capitalism. And, he was saying, this is what capitalism is. We have a version of capitalism, but if we truly had capitalism, the government wouldn't be bailing out the banks and all the stuff with Wall Street being attached to these banks and things. And the bailouts, that wouldn't have been a thing. Watch some of these movies. Watch The Big Short. Watch, there's a lot of movies like that. 99 Homes. I've talked about some of these movies before, I think. The one with Michael, dang, what's his name? Sorry, guys, I'm blanking. Michael, I don't know. Barry? I don't remember his name. But, there's a lot of good movies out there. And you kind of think about it, too. There's movies about every topic, right? But why aren't there movies about... There aren't that many. There's a handful of movies since, like, the 80s about the stock market, about Wall Street, about, the, Federal Reserve type of, movies. There's really, like, 10? Maybe 20. Let me give it the benefit of the doubt and say there's 20. And I don't even know. Let's say there's 20. Wolf of Wall Street. You can look up the top 10, top 15, top 20. I don't know if there's a top 20 really, but you could look up the top 10 or so, and they'll usually have a couple videos that have some overlaps. So it might be up to maybe 20 movies. But you'd think all these years, and they have movies like that, and they tend to be so complex too. Like, the stories are all like weird. There's one with Shia LaBeouf. I think there's a couple with Ben Affleck in them. And you're just like, what is going on here? Like, you'd think there'd be more movies about that kind of stuff, right? Because it's a big part of life, especially in, developed countries in the Western world. Like, I mean, hello, the stock market is like is it not a huge part of the economy? I mean, like, and I don't know why there aren't really even hardly educational materials. If you create content, you're not allowed to give financial advice. If you don't say, hey, this isn't financial advice, on your blog or on your YouTube channel, people could sue you, or you could just get banned. You're not allowed to talk about finance openly. And the more details you give, the more at risk your accounts are. Not necessarily bank accounts, but the more at risk your social media is. But yeah, guys, well, think about it. I'm going to try to post that episode below. And it's old. And I'll post maybe a second one about his bank that got shut down. Well, there's some information in it about his bank that got shut down. And then, I want to post other types of episodes, but for now, that's all I've got for this morning. I've got to kind of get on with my morning. It's 8:31 Sunday morning after Thanksgiving. Hopefully you guys are ready for Cyber Monday if that's what's going to be going on. And I don't even know what to say. But think about it. Just think about it. Think if there are alternatives for you. You know, we're still in an early enough phase that, you know, we're not fully doomed. But, you know, a lot of us are going to have to change our habits, change our expectations, you know, be flexible, be creative. Don't keep falling back into the same traps of 2017, of 2011, you know. Get a new method of doing things, you know. Don't rack up credit debt because Christmas is coming. Don't go crazy on Cyber Monday or Black Friday. You know, my method of buying things, you know, Amazon Prime or other spots, you know, make sure you can return it and keep all the wrapping, open something nicely, you know, and if you use it and then you realize, hey, I only really opened it and didn't really touch this thing after like a week, return that thing. You don't need it. You know, you don't need it if you're not going to use it. It seemed nice, and now that you have it and it's opened at your house, you know, did you really need this thing? No, take it back. You know, you paid $200 for it, take it back. Like, return it. You don't need it. Even if you only get like part of the money back, take it back. You know, it's not worth keeping. But that's kind of my 2 cents. I gotta go get my muffin out of the oven before it burns. But alright guys, hang in there. Thanks for listening. You know, man.